Opinionated and now caffeinated. Wake Up Warchant is fueled by DeLuna Coffee. Come explore our world of coffee. Founded in 2014 by the Lemmix family, Ed, Courtney, and their son, Brett, DeLuna Coffee is Florida State through and through. The pursuit of the perfect blend of coffee beans is a 365-day effort for the family, but they'll always find time to tailgate for their Noles in the autumn. Stand at attention for their red, white, and brew. In honor of armed forces, the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Coast Guard, DeLuna has created this fair trade organic blend. Enjoy this premium French roast coffee and salute to the good old USA. Use the promo code WARCHANT15 for a 15% discount. Visit DeLunaCoffee.com and check out their Facebook and Instagram.
From Tally to Cali,
It's time
To wake up!
Wake up! Wake up!
WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee.
Coffee's for closers only.
Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hajavandi.
And Corey Clark.
What's up, everybody? It's Wake Up Warchant. It is fueled by DeLuna Coffee, DeLunaCoffee.com. Come explore our world of coffee. Promo code WARCHANT15 gets you 15% discount over at DeLunaCoffee.com. WarChant.com, ultimate Seminole sports source. Listening to us on YouTube, thousands of you, literally. We appreciate it. Hit that thumbs up button. Doesn't cost you a penny. I would just subscribing to our YouTube channel. So if you don't mind doing that, we would appreciate it. Before we start, Corey, just want to let everybody know, this evening, 6 o'clock, get on out to Tully Gym for Donuts for Bree. Florida State will be taking on number 14 Florida in volleyball, but the Donuts for Bree is a tribute to Brianna Berry, former Florida State great. Her jersey will be retired, only the second person in Florida State history to get that designation. The other one, Corey, is...
I would imagine Gabriella Reese.
Bam. My guy knows. He knows. So it's a great event for Florida State volleyball and to pay tribute to the honor and the legacy of Brianna Berry. So if you're in Tallahassee area, 6 o'clock, why don't you head over to the gym and support the Seminoles on the volleyball court.
And you can watch the live show that we're doing on your phone.
Yeah.
If you are, watch it later, or you can watch it live on your phone as you're at the volleyball. And I met Brianna Berry. I was lucky enough to meet her just a couple of times. It's when I first started at the Democrat. I think her last year would have been like 08 maybe, 08 or 09. Yeah. I can't quite recall if she was on Chris Poole's first team or not, the current head coach there. But just a very sweet young lady at the time. I just was one of those people that like. She could tell I didn't know much about volleyball necessarily, but I was doing a story, and she was just very patient with me and explained things to me. It was just a really cool person, and actually saw her maybe a couple of years later, 3 or 4 years later. She was doing volunteer work at not at my son's elementary school because he wasn't going to that elementary school, but the elementary school near my house. Mm-hmm. They had this big carnival, and so I took my son Brady there when he was maybe 3 or 4. And she was there volunteering, doing something, and was very nice to Brady and very nice to me, and just an awful tragedy, very sad. But yeah, go out there and support.
2008, Chris Poole's first season at Florida State. So look at that.
Okay,
checking off all the boxes. All right. Do we want to talk about practice from Tuesday? We'll be back out there for everybody Wednesday, and then, Wednesday night, 6 p.m., live show here for us. Tuesday, what was the big takeaway for you, Corey Clark, as we spoke to Mike Norvell, Fabian Lovett, and Wyatt Rector, number 39 maybe on Aslan Hajavandi's Warchant preseason top 40, caught a touchdown, feeling good about it.
That's right.
Had
another big catch. Wasn't that him that had the catch down to the 2?
Yeah.
Before the those 2 plays they did not score on. No, nothing really from practice that caught my eye or seemed all that noteworthy or interesting. You?
No, just the passing game. They're going all in on the passing game. Excited to see what that means. To see what that means. Hopefully it works out. I don't have any angst. I listened to Seminole Headlines probably for the first time, and I don't know how long, 4 years since I pretty much at least a good hour and a half of it. So, where is this Corey Clark that I mean, like you're a completely different human being on this show. Like you you're not a happy camper on that show. And then you come here, and then I guess you feel you have to level me off, so you try to be a little bit more optimistic and nice.
Well, so that was funny. Jeff starts the show by saying, look, all three of us think he's a good coach. And I was like, well, hey, hold on now.
Yeah,
don't speak for me. And the point being, I did think he was a good coach 5 days ago.
Yeah.
Like, I thought he was turning this program around. And is it fair to judge someone on what should one game change your opinion of someone? Well, it can. And if one game was going to do it, it's this one. You know what I mean? Like,
catastrophic.
I mean, literally, that's what my point was. Is like, look, he's coached 11 games. They're all data points. That was an awful data point. Now, let me put it this way. I'm not convinced. How could anyone be convinced he is a good coach? I'm certainly not convinced the opposite either. I'm not convinced he needs to go ahead and be fired. They need to start a new search, any of that nonsense. I'm not on board that train. But I'm certainly not just where I was 5 days ago. I'm not convinced. I'm not sold. I don't think anybody could be with what they saw on Saturday. It was such a devastating loss because of everything where this program is, man. And so, no, I'm not convinced he's the right guy for the job. How could anybody be at this point? I hope. I think he can do it. I'm not against it. I'm not totally off the train completely, but no, I'm not. I don't know. I don't know what this tenure is going to end up being. That's how much that game Saturday night swayed me, as it should. As it should. I haven't been a happy camper on this show either this week. You know what I mean? Like, I can balance you out other times, but this week it's just there's nothing you can say. There's nothing you can say. There's no. That Notre Dame game did happen too. They did fight like mad and come back and almost win that game. That did happen under his watch too. I'm not trying to be reactionary, but folks, it was the worst loss in modern program history.
Absolutely.
So it's hard. You don't get the benefit of the doubt, and you can't just say, okay, he's definitely the right guy, because that happened.
How much of where you're at in terms of managing your emotions is actually, I don't know if I should phrase it that way, but if we knew that this school had financial means that not want to say a larger institution, but maybe one that had a larger television contract. Because I'm at the point where I just realize that financially it's not feasible for them to get rid of this guy. So, I mean, I feel like it's my birthday and my grandmother spent all day making a cake, and then I throw a tantrum. I'm like, I don't want that kind of cake. I want this kind of cake instead. So then my dad gets in the car and drives an hour and a half to Carvel and gets me the cake I want. And then he brings it, and then I throw another tantrum. It's like, no, like, do you realize what just happened here? Like, you got rid of a guy who won a national championship. You brought in another guy.
No. Don't phrase it like that. They didn't get rid of Jimbo Fisher.
All right, you're right. He leaves.
Right.
You replace him with a coach that had a good sort of resume. Things seem to line up. And then you immediately sort of panic, and you're like, this is not going to work out. Please get rid of him. And they do. Like, they step up, and they do. So now it's like you have no choice but to eat the cake that you were given. So I can't, like, I could throw another tantrum, but it feels like it's just not going to be worth it.
Yeah, that's what was so maddening and so numbing about that loss, is that you
helpless.
Could literally,
you're helpless.
Are you hopeless? I don't know. This Saturday will tell us a lot. If they go out there and play well, play hard, even play like Willie's team played at Virginia, okay, that's something to at least build, win or lose. But if they go out there and get pasted, you know what I mean? There's a real. It's not a discussion. I don't think he's in danger, unless, I mean, look, man, 1-11, everything's on the table. It just is. It just is.
2-10, 3-9. I know you guys said on the show, and we'll get to our stuff here. We got plenty of questions on the Renegade Express, that you think 4 wins is enough to keep the recruiting class intact.
Well, I mean, Jeff said that. I don't know about that. I don't know if you heard my ideas about Travis Hunter and convincing him to come. You've got to do whatever you got to do to get Travis Hunter here, and that by all means necessary, by any means necessary. If it means cutting Adam Fuller's salary in half and giving the other half to the Hunter family, whatever you have to do. But look, man, if they go out there, like right now, if you're a Florida, I assume you're listening to this, you're a Florida State fan. In your mind, Florida State fan, talking to you, not you, Aslan,
right.
just the person listening to this. If Willie Taggart was still the coach, what would their record be this year?
1-1 probably.
I can't answer that. I don't know.
Okay.
They might be 0-2 too.
Sorry. Okay.
But yeah, but that's what people are asking. It's like, okay, you fired the guy after 18 games, and we've been over why that happened. But you fired him after 18 games. You hired this guy. Now, is the program in a better place now than it was when you fired Willie Taggart? You just lost to Jacksonville State. All the goodwill that had been built up, the offseason, his full, a real year. It's not year zero anymore. This is a real year, a real offseason. All the things that we were told and we thought and we believed, and the way they played that game against Notre Dame, everybody believed, okay, this thing is turned around. This thing, it's not back, but it's turning around. The Titanic has missed the iceberg and it's steering back on course. And then the iceberg slams right into the hull.
Psych.
Yeah, and then you're bobbing up and down and oh no, I'm a Fabrizi. I'm gonna die. Like Fabrizi's getting the ship falling on him. Like all that just happened, and now you're in a lower point than you were. Is the program in worse shape? I don't think so. But results are all that matter. And if they go out there and lose to Wake Forest and they're 0-3 when they lost to Jacksonville State, that's lower than anything Willie Taggart did. The problem is,
we're already lower than it. We lost to an FCS team.
No, I mean, but they're 3 games under 500. They're going to finish with maybe 3 or 4 wins. Who knows what it looks like? Who knows what the recruiting class had? All that stuff. But the point being, with all that said, I do think it's too early it is too early. But that's an awful look. It is an awful look for a fan base that was judging you harshly anyway and wanted to make sure that last year was a fluke because of COVID and everything you went through, and we know what kind of roster you were handed, and you had to turn it all over. And then you've had a year and a half now, and you produce what you produced that Saturday. It does not mean that Mike Norvell won't have a great career here. But I understand the consternation, and I understand how people could be dubious about it. And but if you say he goes 1-11, this was what we talked about on headlines, because Jeff and I are pretty adamant that he wouldn't be fired. I'm not necessarily in that camp, but that is like everything goes wrong, unmitigated disaster. They're 0-9 when they play UMass, something like that.
Well, nobody thought Willie was going to get fired going into year 2.
That's my point. And Ira's point, which is also a good point, is you can't just become one of these schools that keeps firing people every 2 years, because those schools don't ever win,
because they don't ever hire good coaches, man. It really,
but look, you set people up for failure when you keep making coaching hires every 2 years. You just do. Whether it's the NFL or what, you might strike. I mean, Alabama finally hit on Saban. But USC finally hit on Pete Carroll.
Florida Muschamp. Muschamp was there 11 to 14, so he was there 4 years, and then McElwain. He was on a relatively short leash. I mean, again, Taggart's firing.
Well, they went Spurrier, who was awesome, clearly. Zook, who wasn't, but Zook could recruit. Zook at least loaded the roster with talent. Urban Meyer, who was very good. Muschamp, not so good. Who was that? McElwain after him?
Yep.
And then
Dan Mullen.
And then they hit Mullen, who looks like now, number one, I don't know if there's a Dan Mullen out there for you, but even if there was, you also Florida wasted about a decade. Now, you could say that they didn't waste a decade because they got rid of Muschamp, but they also made a bad hire that wasted a few more years until they made a good hire. Do you want Florida State to go that route? Maybe. I mean, Florida State fans would love to do what McElwain did at this point. They would love their program to be even as what McElwain's was.
He won the East a few times.
He won it a couple times now. He got his brains beat in, but he did win the East. With Norvell, that's what's so crazy, man, is we were so that there has never been a loss that has affected the perception of a coach like this one, maybe in my lifetime. Not just Florida State. I'm trying to think of another school or NFL team or basketball team where a loss has affected Like, as Ira was saying on the show, like there were people that after that Notre Dame game was like, okay, I could see 8 wins. ACC's down.
Guilty.
Florida State's better than we thought they were. And then now, literally 5 days later, we're wondering about who would they hire? Do they have enough money to fire Norvell after one game? But that's how disastrous that game was. But that being said, I don't think they'll fire him. I don't think he's going to go 1-11. I think he is a good coach. I'm not convinced of it because there isn't enough data. It's not a big enough sample size. But Florida State, the only way Florida State can be decent in 2022, the only way, is if Mike Norvell's the head coach. That's fair, right?
I don't know. I mean, my
Homeboy
on Warchant hates it when I bring up his name, but like if they got Bob Stoops, I mean, not that they're going to get Bob Stoops. I mean, if you got a whale, I think you can flip it.
I don't think they're out there. I don't think there's a whale out there.
Well, we tried. Maybe we went after Stoops. I'm pretty sure we went after Matt Campbell, which he can't beat his rival. So maybe we dodged a bullet there. That's fine, it's been humble.
He wouldn't lose to Jacksonville State probably.
Yeah,
I shouldn't say that. Norvell was great at Memphis.
Listen, man, this has been humbling. This whole from Jimbo to where we're at now, we took it for granted, and now we're here, and it's an extremely humbling this past coaching search that we had. We got a guy with the same profile as the guy that we just replaced, and that was a concern of ours. And I don't know if there's the consistencies and where they came from coaching in the AAC, and maybe the ACC is just a real meat grinder. What I will say, we need to find a different term to use when we say it's too soon, because I feel like we knew. I don't know. Maybe it's not the total amount of games, but man, like after the Louisiana Monroe game in 2019, it was like, okay, man, this is probably just never going to work out.
Well, yeah, but I think that's a little bit of revisionist history because I agree with you. I certainly thought that at the time. Like, this is a disaster. Like, what is he doing with this program? But then they went up to Virginia and had a lead and played, I thought, at least really hard. Yeah. The defense just kept giving up 7-yard passes on 3rd and 4 the whole fourth quarter and couldn't get any stops. But they played hard, lost that game, but then came back and I think won a couple in a row and actually got above 500 and had a lead on Wake Forest at Wake Forest. And if they win that game, maybe his whole tenure changes. I wouldn't say that, but maybe he survives the season anyway and he coaches against Florida. This season, man, it's hinging a lot on this game. Like, they're only a 6-point underdog. It's not like this is an impossible task to go play against Wake Forest and beat Wake Forest. It just isn't. But, man, as a Florida State fan, I can imagine you guys are wondering, okay, now, did we mess up this hire too? Because that's a perfectly reasonable question to ask. You just lost to Jack State. So that was when Jeff brought that up, Ira was adamant that they wouldn't fire him. You can't fire somebody. You can't even talk about firing somebody after 11 games. And I'm like, well, if the 11th game is the 8th loss and it's to Jacksonville State, you can understand how there's some consternation. I don't think he's going to get fired.
But this is the thing. How much of it, though, is the financial reality? That's why you're saying that he's not going to get fired. Because that's what it is for me. It's the financial reality.
No, I don't. Look, I think they didn't believe in Willie Taggart. I think that first year they knew they were in real trouble.
Yeah, man, they opened up the checkbook.
There were no adjustments made.
They opened up the checkbook for $1 million offensive coordinator. They let him go to IMG. Yeah. They brought Levitt in midseason. They tried everything they could to put holes on the the gaping sort of deficiencies.
Gaping wound. Yeah. So I think that Virginia Tech game, it was a oh no type moment. Like there were no adjustments. They were not ready to play. They did not look like they had been coached at all. This might be trouble. And every week it seemed to add more fuel to that fire for the most part. And so by game 18, after as Coburn said, the Miami game looked an awful lot like the Virginia Tech game. It didn't look like any steps had been made at all. They thought it was time to make a change. Now, again, there was a lot of stuff off the field as far as recruiting, and again, just a lot of stuff where they didn't think he was the right guy. I think they do like Norvell. They believe in him, but you might have to wear, some I don't know. I don't even know. You're an apathetic fan base. Like if they go out this season and go 3-9 or 2-10, that's hard to sell to the boosters that okay, we're going to hang with them. I know we fired the other guy who had a better record than this, but we're going to hang with him because we can't afford to get rid of him. That's not exactly an endorsement, right?
No,
we'd love to fire him, but we can't afford it. We can't afford to. But I do think they believe in Norvell. Clearly next year, if this thing goes off the rails, he's got to get it done, and not like 10 wins done. But you can't look like that anymore. Those days need to be over.
Let's get on the ponies, shall we?
All right.
Gator 188. It's Gator Kirk. We're just going to hop.
All
to
right,
the middle
Gator
of it.
Kirk.
Wake up! Put the pass in the past. Let's go to Wake Forest and win. No talk, just win. Keep the recruits intrigued. I have a suggestion for the running back group. Chantre-La as a play on Shangri-La. Chantre-La.
Okay, not bad.
Chantre-La. Okay.
I feel like I think Sean Gaughan's better.
Sean Gaughan.
Because it doesn't incorporate as much Toafili.
Oh.
Hey, look, man. Again, there are a lot of things that went wrong in that game. Toafili getting more carries in the second half than Corbin. It's indefensible. And it's not that Toafili's terrible. I like Toafili. I think he might end up being really good.
You do like
but
him, yeah.
Your job as a coach is to play your best players, especially when the game is on the line. They didn't let Grothaus kick the 53-yard field goal. They went with their starter because the game was on the line. Mastromano had to punt right-footed that last punt. They didn't let him screw around lefty or doing a bicycle kick. They made him like punt for real. I just did not like at all what they did with the running backs because sometimes running back is a rhythm position. Jimbo used to say that all the time.
Absolutely.
You get in a rhythm or you get out of rhythm. And what they did is they had a running back that was in a nice rhythm and then sat him for an hour. Like literally real time, it might have been close to an hour in between Jashawn Corbin carries. Because of, hey man, every time a Jacksonville State player goes down, let's fire up one of those binocular commercials again on the ACC network. Let's take another 3-minute timeout so we can sell those Eagle glasses. So you can shoot down whoever's in your scope. Like it's crazy that you have so many TV timeouts for a network that doesn't sell anything and has ridiculous ads anyway. But that's beside the point. Also, while I'm ranting, can I rant about something else, Aslan, real quick?
Sure.
I know this wasn't Gator Kirk's prompt, but they do that live video board. Well, you haven't been at the games. They do a live video board, the huge video board
right.
Over the band.
The Jimbotron.
Sure, they do during the game. They do this. I think it's called Field Pass. I don't remember what it's called, but literally they get the camera. They try to put like it's an exciting time of the game, so let's get some students on there.
Yeah.
They get the camera. I guess the cameraman literally gets paid by how close he can get to the nostril of the college student because it gets up in their face as if they're trying to swallow the camera. And it happens incessantly. It does not add anything to the game at all. All it does is it keeps showing these college students, some who want to flick off the camera, every other play. And it's all in their face, and that doesn't add anything to the experience. Sometimes you want to see the crowd going wild, sure. Or you want to see somebody look up on TV and wait, oh, there we are. It's every other play. And it's 9 stories of people. You get to see their nostrils. Their nostrils are the size of a house. And they just get so close. Anyway, so that was another thing that bothered me on Saturday night. It's like, who's the director?
Do you know they did the wave while they were on offense?
Did. Yeah, I think I either meant to tweet it or I guess it didn't go through. But yeah, the Florida State had the ball in the third quarter. I think it was in the second half, and the student section was starting the wave while their team was on offense. But you know what? The students were there. They showed up. They sold out, and a lot of them even stayed till the end. So I'm not going to give the students too hard a time. But yeah, I just don't understand what they're doing with the video board and just showing. Folks, you probably haven't noticed it as much. If you happen to want to go to a game the rest of this year, and I think you will, you're listening to this, you're a Florida State fan, Count how many times they show these, and it's only college students, and they're only like, they're funneling, they're flicking off the camera, they're hooting and hollering, and it's so close and tight into their faces. It's pretty off-putting. I'll be honest with you. Yeah, but I'm also an old man, so it's a pretty old man get off my lawn type of rant.
D Wolf 1. We got people that are higher ups at professional sports leagues that post on Warchant. Your guy from Indy, the guy that works for the Pacers, Daniel, is that his name?
Oh, I wish you wouldn't ask me. I don't remember his name.
I think it's Daniel. He tweeted at us a few weeks ago, and I forgot to get back to him. Hopefully he's listening to this. He talked about he was going to get DeLuna coffee, but he's like, oh, who kidding? I'm going to get Cuban coffee instead. I think he's a Miami guy.
Yeah, that's right.
But nonetheless, so yeah, we got guys that work for the NBA, NASCAR. It's amazing. Hey guys, D Wolf 1 says, love the show as always. By the way, would you rather 30 seconds live show infield at Daytona or Talladega?
Are you asking me that?
Yeah. Come on, which one would you rather do? I think Talladega.
I don't know. Le Mans? Okay. I don't know anything about cars. I don't know anything about NASCAR races. Which one's better?
I don't know. I think.
I know Daytona is like the Super Bowl. But I literally wouldn't have any way to answer that question. Whatever's the closest one to drive to.
Okay. Hey, guys. Love the show as always. I'm going to take a bit of a counter view on things. If you would have taken a poll of Nole Nation prior to the Notre Dame game and laid out the following scenario, I think most would have taken it. And here's the scenario. Florida State battles back from 18 down, something recent teams would have only dreamed of, and take Notre Dame to overtime only to lose on a missed kick. I still think if we win the toss and go on defense first, we win that game. Then the Noles have a serious hangover, just like Notre Dame did with Toledo, but they hang on to beat Jacksonville State by 3. I think the large majority of the fan base, while maybe not happy squeaking by an FCS opponent, but that seems to happen much more often in college football than before, I think most would have taken it. I know I would have. Now, I fully realize the second point didn't happen, but we were one tackle away and a poor defensive call from having this scenario play out. I am certainly just as disappointed as my Nole brethren, but let's open up ACC play in Winston-Salem this week and see what the product is on the field and then make some additional conclusions. I personally think the team is going to play well and possibly come out with a W. If the opposite happens and we get boat raced, then we have many more concerns, obviously. I know others will blast us, but just trying to take a balanced view. I'm just really curious what happens this weekend, as we all are. Again, guys, great job as always.
Thank you, D Wolf. We appreciate that. And it's a good point too. Like, it is completely reactionary to want to just quit on Norvell after that game. It's the exact opposite of how we felt after the Notre Dame game. Like, we were all aboard the train. Now we've jumped off the train just to get away after one game. But that's what was so disappointing and disheartening about that game. Is you had everybody in your corner. They were all on your side. And then it wasn't just the missed tackle at the end of the game. It's how you looked for 60 minutes that was so disheartening. But it is just one game. It was a bad day at the office. It was a bad job.
It was you can't just say it's one game. It was just it's catastrophic, man.
But the point being, it will not be erased, but it can be salved a little bit.
There we go. Okay, nice.
These next 3 games are all imminently winnable. Yeah. And if you can go on a 3-game winning streak after that, or just play well 3 games in a row, and you're 2-3 or 3-2, whatever it is, but you look like a football team again, and you don't just have this catapult the season into the sun, that's something else to build on. There's still a lot to play for. There's still a lot of reason, if they play well on Saturday, to be optimistic about this program. This might have been, it was an awful loss. It was an awful, historic, gross loss, but it can be salved a little bit with a really good performance against Wake, and then some wins against teams you should beat. Maybe you start feeling better about the people that don't. Maybe start feeling better about Norvell. I guess I include myself in that.
I don't know. You said good performance against Wake. I think you have to win. You can't. You lose 31-30, like on a missed kick again. No way. I hate saying that because losses need to play out, and then we'll analyze them. But there's no loss that's going to be like. Because the Notre Dame loss, if they lose the way they did to Notre Dame against Wake Forest, we're not going to feel. They're back. like, oh, they're back on the right track. No, man, you can't lose to Wake Forest.
No, you need to start.
But,
you
like,
can.
These things are just. This is just going to be more accumulation of stress.
But there is a difference clearly between like a 31-30 loss and a 31-3 loss. If they get hammered in Winston-Salem, man, we'll have some real discussions about what is going on with this program after that. If they go up there and play well and just, like I said, if it's just like the Willie Virginia game, that was a good sign. That was a team that had been awful the year before, that had blown a Boise State lead in the second half, looked terrible against Louisiana Monroe, blew another lead against Virginia, but at least you were getting leads. Like, I know it's Florida State. That's not how you judge a season or a game, but they were playing well for large swaths of those games. I know,
but the way they lost it ruined all of it.
That
was the thing. The way the defense played, then the botching of the last few plays.
Yes, that didn't help. Didn't help. And then that was the problem with the Wake Forest loss, too. It wasn't just that they lost a close game on the road where they looked like they were in control and then they had another bad fumble. It was the mismanagement at the end of the game. And Norvell's on that clock, too, man, because that was awful mismanagement at the end of that game, and that doesn't need to be happening anymore.
I'm sorry to ruin the spirit of your post, E-Wolf one, but I got you, man.
But he's right, right?
We'll
they are.
On Saturday.
They're 2 plays away from being literally like the 14th ranked team in the country.
Well, that's funny that he said that. You said that because literally one of the coaches Tuesday was screaming like at the top of his lungs, like imploring the guys on his side of the ball, like we're just 2 plays away. It's like we're 2 plays away, and he was screaming. I don't want to scream because nobody wants to hear me scream. Was literally screaming at them. We were 2 plays away from being 2-0. We were 2 plays away from everybody saying that Florida State is back. Do you hear me? We were 2. I mean, like screaming emphatically to them. They all just listened to him. It wasn't like they're like, "Yeah, you're right. Let's go. Next snap. Let's do this." I mean, not that. I don't think that was what he was trying to get out of it. But yeah, that was. But
I think the point is, it's the details that matter. It's the little things that matter. And it's not just those last plays. It's, if you make a tackle on a screen pass, but that was a horrible call against Notre Dame. But if Travis Jay knocks the ball down, maybe you win that game. One of those passes that he gave up touchdowns on, if he can rip the ball out, because he's right there, if he makes those plays, if, Toafili makes a guy miss and scores a touchdown, if Jordan Wilson catches a ball, it's not just Jarvis Brownlee not making that tackle. There's 7 or other, Keyshawn Helton, Malik McClain. There were a lot of plays that if they make these 1 plays, they win those games. And maybe that's the point. It's like you never know which play is going to be the one that decides it. So do it right all the time. Let's hope we see it, man. Let's hope we see it.
Oh, right, man. Well, let's combine these 2 because they're of the same ilk. And It's fine. I get everybody, but and I don't know. I'm not going to apologize for making this a downer of a show. We're 0-2. Like my guy Mackenzie Milton said, we're 0-2. We got to own it. This is who we are.
Yeah, I feel like I'm kind of not playing my role, though. I think I have kind of taken on the role of being kind of an optimistic guy and being a pragmatist, and kind of taking a step back. But I can't get over this one, man. I don't know that I've ever had a harder time getting over a loss. Not like I'm depressed, like the wide right.
Yeah.
But I'm having a hard. I haven't processed it. I'm having a real hard time processing it. So I apologize if I'm coming off as too negative. I'm not trying to do that. I do like Mike Norvell. I pray to all the football gods that he ends up being the right fit at Florida State and he wins multiple championships. I'm praying to every football god there is. But man, I'm having a hard time with this one.
Well, I conversely, like, I feel like I need to be more angry because that's like my MO, but I'm just so numb to it now, which is sad. Like, I mean, and again, the financial reality that, and the humbling reality that we went through a coaching search and this is what we ended up with. So how is it really going to be that much better 24 months later, So I'm trying to feel all your anger, everybody, and then convey it onto the show so that somebody's like, screaming out the primal anger inside of you, but I just haven't been able to do it, so I'm letting you down. I apologize. This comes from Noles MG4 and then Eskimo Randy, but this is Noles MG4. Good morning, gentlemen. We have 10 games left. What do you think is the totality of circumstances of our program in the rest of the season? Win or lose against Wake, it's just hard to get back on board with the Norvell train. So many questions, so few answers early on in this season. Great job as always. Take care. Stay safe. Eskimo Randy says, wake up. Wake up. Love the show. Thanks for keeping a level head through all this, but I'm coming in hot with this one, and he is. Buckle up. In the 21 months Mike Norvell has been a head coach, we've seen him go 3-8 in 11 games without even having to play Clemson or Florida. Lose the only rivalry game he's coached 52-10. He actually didn't coach in that when he had COVID. Just underscores how bizarre everything is. Get in multiple public rifts with his players that made national news, cancel multiple games at the last second, raising the ire of other coaches, turn the two biggest returning talents of last year's team into undrafted players, seeing absolutely no development at the quarterback position, and now lose the first ever game to an FCS opponent in program history. How has this been anything other than a complete and utter embarrassment? I'm not bereft of hope and absolutely not ready to throw in the towel on Norvell, but I think we've spent too long defending things that are undefendable. Ooh.
Hey, well,
okay,
yeah,
okay, all that's true. But then you Eskimo Randy, you say that you're not bereft of hope and you're not ready to throw in the towel, but we spent too long. So I don't. What have we? I hope we haven't. I don't know what we've defended. Like I wasn't happy last year. I think the year zero thing hasn't been anything that I subscribe to. I don't know.
Well,
he hasn't done anything horrible. I mean, he lost. I'm not defending what he did against Jacksonville State. Like the play that Adam Fuller did, I think it's defensible. I don't think it was the right thing. That's what I'm like. I would have ran that defense, but I was clearly wrong on it. We'll see with this whole Jordan Travis McKenzie Milton thing. This will be the real first. This is the real first crossroad for him. Like real big decision. Because last year's team was so horrible, like almost nothing mattered. He did beat UNC. Maybe we've kind of forgotten about that. But if McKenzie Milton works out and they beat Wake Forest and they go on to win a couple more games here before they play Clemson, we'll have a little bit of different feelings. Now, if he loses and Jordan Travis is thrown into a really untenable situation to try to dig this team out of holes, I think, and actually does a good job of getting close. Like, say they play Wake and they're down 31-10. They put Jordan Travis in there and then they end up losing the game like 34-31. Then again, but see, that's the thing, I don't know. Then you're like, well, we got our quarterback. Like, it's definitely Jordan. McKenzie's done.
But then you criticize, like, it took you that long to put Jordan in the game? Or vice versa.
No,
like,
I know.
What I mean?
But then we'll spin it that, they finally got their quarterback situation figured out. So, I don't know, Eskimo. We see things that we don't like. I think we've called them out. Maybe not as fervently as people would hope, but I haven't seen crazy off the wall stuff that's been like, what the hell is this guy thinking? Other than losing to Jacksonville State.
Yeah, that's by far the worst thing of his tenure. I also would take issue with him canceling those games. Those aren't his decision. So that was not on Mike Norvell, like pulling the rug out from under Dabo Swinney. That was the university made that decision. Mike Norvell didn't. So let's not give him those. Those aren't on his resume. But yeah, it's been an awful start. The COVID year, you can say it's an excuse or it's all. I mean, but it was a year unlike any other. It was just it is hard to judge. It just is. I don't know how else to say it. That was he went through the first 14 months of his. I don't know how long it was. 12 months. Of his tenure at Florida State without being able to recruit in person. No coaches.
But that doesn't. Come on.
No,
that doesn't affect what happens now, right now.
It affects what happens in the 2021 recruiting class, right?
I know, but that 2021 recruiting class probably is not making a difference against Jacksonville State and Notre Dame.
No, but my point being, when you're trying to build a program, I'm not saying they lost to Jacksonville State because he couldn't recruit. I'm saying he's had to deal with things that no other coach at Florida State has ever come close to dealing with. And he took over a program without a quarterback.
But look how good Arkansas is doing year 2 with their coach. His first year was a COVID year. Ole Miss is in a lot better situation, it seems like, than us. Year 2 with their coach. His first year was a COVID year. Colorado almost beat Texas A&M, second year coach. There's
no, you're conflating things. I'm not giving Norvell a pass for what happened on Saturday in year 2. Like, that should have looked much better, clearly. But Arkansas and Ole Miss weren't great shakes last year either. during their COVID year with their first year coach.
Yeah, but they're 2-0 right now, Corey. We're 0-2. We lost to an
Right,
FCS
but
team,
my point being the phrasing of the question included last year.
Okay.
Like, if we're just judging on the basis of this year, then yeah, there's no way to defend what's going on. I'm not defending what's going on. I'm saying in the totality of the question, when he talked about he included everything that happened last year. I was given the context that was really hard. It's really hard for first-year coaches during COVID last year, as it played out all over the country. Now, a couple of them seem to have taken a nice step. You haven't. That needs to change. So I'm not excusing what's happened this year at all. It's just that last year was just tough to judge what he was. This year is a very good indicator of what he is. So let's hope for everyone's sake he turns it around.
I don't want to gloss over Noles MG's question. It was kind of this, again, the question of the same ilk. What do you think? What do you think is the totality of circumstances of our program and the rest of the season? Well, you're using too big of words for me, Noles.
I don't understand. Yeah, I don't understand what the actual what he's trying to get, what he's trying to elicit there.
We have 10 games left. What do you think is the totality of circumstances of our program and the rest of the season?
I don't know,
there a lot of opportunity. I mean, listen, if they beat Miami, if between now and Florida they've only lost to Clemson, I think we're feeling. I mean, there's an opportunity.
God, if
to turn
they've only
it around.
lost to Clemson, then yeah, Mike Norvell might win Coach of the Year honors. Legitimately, look, and that's the thing. You look at that. You look at the schedule. NC State just lost their best defensive player and our man Cyrus Fagan to season-ending injuries. Those are big losses, especially the linebacker. Yeah. Boston College just lost their quarterback.
Yeah.
Miami certainly hasn't looked good the first 2 weeks. They look beatable. Obviously, Florida State does too. But and then you look at Louisville and Syracuse, NC State. These are all winnable games. Boston College losing their quarterback. That becomes a different game now.
Yeah.
Because that guy's a pretty decent player. So, man, you look at that schedule, and if they play like they did against Notre Dame, they can beat everybody left but Clemson. And maybe Florida. Especially, looks like Florida just lucked into another pretty darn good quarterback. But they can win every game but Clemson heading into that Florida game. They could. Even North Carolina, you've seen North Carolina. They haven't been any great shakes. But then if you play like you did Saturday night, you lose to everyone not named UMass. So that's why this Wake Forest game, man, I just so much hinges on it. Let's see what they look like. Are they which one was the fluke?
Right.
Which one was the fluke, the first one or the second one? And it does not help. Again, I'm not making excuses, but before the season started, Dillingham said they felt good about 7 or 8 offensive linemen. Well, one's off the team now. One didn't play this week, and another one played this week and then left midway through the game. So Robert Scott and Maurice Smith, we do not know the status of them moving forward. And we also don't we know the status of Dante Lucas, and it isn't great because he ain't around anymore. But now, so you went from 8 guys that you feel good about to now you got 5, and that's it. So the offensive line, what we knew wasn't a strength, but we hoped wasn't going to be a weakness, now is having depth issues. The one position that really couldn't afford to have them, Maurice Smith and Robert Scott might be your 2 best guys, and they might not be playing for a while.
Head to mybookie.ag. Choose from a variety of boosts, contests, and promotions that are up for grabs, including the famed MyBookie Super Contest that costs only $10 to enter. You pick 5 games against the spread, get a point for each one that you get right. Each point gets you closer to that grand prize of $100,000. You got to use the promo code WARCHANT, though. And if you make your first deposit at mybookie.ag using the promo code WARCHANT, you'll instantly receive double your deposit. Corey, you want to just shout out a game or two? I'll give you the line. You can let me know what you think about it. Give our guys and gals at home some winners. Right now at MyBookie, Florida State is a 5.5-point underdog. Over-under of 61.5.
Ooh. You know what? Give me the Noles.
Okay.
Give me
straight
the
up, or you want the 5.5 points too?
Well, I'll take the 5.5 points, but yeah, I'd probably take them straight up. I guess I don't want to be too much of a negative Nelly, but give me the Noles on this one. I like them. I like their chances to be in the game in the fourth quarter, and if they're not in the game in the fourth quarter, oh boy, Anyway, so that's one. I'll take the Noles on that one.
How about A&M 29.5-point favorites against New Mexico with their backup quarterback who couldn't do anything versus Colorado?
No, but I think Jimbo probably learned a little bit of a lesson there in that game. He would do that sometimes. He would maybe throw more than he should with guys that weren't great. But he's got really good running backs, man, and their defense is insane. I can't imagine New Mexico State's going to be scored more than 7 or 10. And I think Jimbo was always pretty good about having an awful offensive performance and then coming back and putting up some points on the board. So I think I might take A&M and give the points.
All right, and last one.
I believe in you, Jimbo.
This is a stinky line. Miami favored by 6.5 at home versus Michigan State. I thought Michigan State actually has been looking pretty good. Did they lose last week?
Miami, Florida's playing Michigan State?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Neither did
That's
I.
a cool game.
Alabama's
and Penn
playing
State's
Florida
playing
this
Auburn
week too. That's great, right?
Yeah, Alabama, Florida, Penn State, Auburn. These are some good games. That is a tough one, man. They just barely beat.
They beat Northwestern 38-21. They just beat Youngstown State 42-14.
Yeah, I'm going Michigan State.
Yeah,
I'm going Michigan State. Miami's defense has not really impressed me all that much so far. So let's see if Michigan State can run all over them.
MyBookie.ag, use the promo code WARCHANT. Back to the warchant.com tribal council, Renegade Express. Bourbon is your friend. This is Dave in Bardstown, Kentucky, T-Bone's dad. Have you seen the movie Best of Times from 1986 with Robin Williams and Kurt Russell, Corey?
Yes, I saw it in the theater.
I've never even heard of it. Right now seems like a good time to forget FSU football exists for a few days. Watch that movie, then wake up Saturday ready to watch FSU take on Wake. It's been 3 years, or rather it's been 3 weeks since Corey has discussed lighting issues during his live shows. I hope he's still taking his job seriously.
Man, I might do it in the yard tomorrow or later on today. I might just do it in the yard. I might do it in my car. We'll see. Best of Times was a crazy movie. It's Kurt Russell. It was basically Robin Williams was a wide receiver on this high school team, but he barely played, but he got in the game late in the state championship game for some reason and dropped a wide open touchdown pass that would have won the game. And so 20 years later, it still bothers him so much that they organize a alumni reunion game with that team, and he's the wide receiver on it. Kurt Russell's like the big deal hotshot quarterback from that team, and that's basically the idea for the movie.
Is he washed
up,
movie? Kurt Russell, or was he still like a hot shot even post high school? Like, was he like a washed up like has?
Oh no, he was. He was a golden god.
Okay.
Right. This mid '80s Kurt Russell, man, 35 years ago, he was still that Kurt Russell.
Yeah, I got you.
He was a good professional baseball player.
Okay.
Like, he was a minor league baseball player. He never made the major leagues, but in Baseball Reference, I think I looked it up. Like, he hit like over 300 a couple years in the minor leagues, but with no power, and that's why he didn't make the major leagues. I think it was something like that. He played minor league baseball for a couple years, like real deal minor league baseball.
Hey, you look that up while I read Mark's question. Mark from Naples, he's got a couple graphs here for us. Wake up! Obviously, Saturday was nothing short of a debacle. Coaching staff, many players brought their F game, and that's how you lose to an FCS team at home. But I'm trying to keep perspective here. For the rest of 2021, we need to pick ourselves up, win some ACC games, and hopefully UMass, and keep most of this recruiting class intact. It also occurred to me, maybe we just don't have the players yet to get consistent results? ? Some of the transfers are nice, but most will only be here another 9 weeks. But many of the original FSU recruits have played for multiple staffs and simply don't know how to win and get out of their own way. I truly think Mike Norvell needs at least 2 more full recruiting classes to have a legit shot at reaching the consistent standard he preaches and seeks. Or is that too kind and forgiving, and should we be highly concerned at this point? I think that's you can't give him 2 full. If he can unless he keeps this together and he brings like a top 5, he gets Travis Hunter and A.J. Duffy and all these guys, the dude from Mississippi, if everything he has on the board right now sticks, maybe you give him 2 full more, but I still think that's too kind. I'm also concerned about labeling Wake as a must-win. The coaches and players know they need to win a game badly, but in sports there's a line you can cross in performance by putting crazy pressure on a particular game or moment. or is Wake a must-win and a true line in the sand for the staff and program? Okay, maybe we just don't have the players yet to get consistent results. Again, I kind of turn the fact
that's 100% true.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. But again, see, this is the weird thing. I don't know what like. Is the standard Bobby Bowden and Jimbo Fisher? Is the standard? Are we judging Mike Norvell against like Willie Taggart? And since Willie only had this amount of time, Mike is only going to get this amount of time. And if he doesn't, that's where I don't know. Like what we're almost grading on. I don't even know what the grading scale is. And like I don't even know what was Willie being graded against Jimbo.
Yes, he was 100%. He was being graded against history, and the bowl streak ended. He just got housed by Miami, and it
was 27-10. I mean
that was a bad Miami team. They lost to FIU the next week or something. So that was not the Miami teams that Bowden was losing to. So you juxtapose that with what the guy before Taggart had done, never losing to Miami except that one at the end in 17. That had something to do with it. That was looming over him because when Willie took over, they were 3 years removed from a 29-game winning streak. Now they're longer. They're more removed from that. So you're not judging necessarily against Jimbo right now. You're judging. I don't even know if you're judging against Willie. And the fact of the matter is, man, the only way I'm going to go back to that. I don't see how Florida State can be any good in 2022 or 2023 if somebody else is the head coach. You got to rebuild all over again. You got to have all that attrition. You have to go through at least one more recruiting cycle where you're just grabbing scraps. Yeah. Like that's not how you build programs. By look at Tennessee, man. It's hard to keep doing that and turning it over and over. It's hard to catch footing. At the same time, I get it. If they go 1-11, people are going to want different results. You got to produce, but. Everybody, and myself included, I know I've sounded like I'm about to jump off a bridge on this show, but everybody's got to be pulling for Mike Norvell. The only way this thing gets turned around before Brady's in college is if Mike Norvell is the head coach, I think. I just think, literally say this year, and I don't even want to use this year. He's not going to get fired this year. So say next year they go 5-7, 6-6.
Gone.
And you make a change in November. Okay, we're going to assume the next year's recruiting class is going to be pretty solid too, since he's doing what he's doing with this one. And we're assuming that recruiting class stays because, again, you got to do whatever you got to do, but get them on campus. Then all of a sudden, does Travis Hunter stay with the free transfer portal? It's not just you don't just risk losing recruiting classes now. You risk losing half the people on your team. So all of this weighs into the calculus of decisions to make. And if you believe in Mike Norvell, and that he gave you a reason not to, sure, clearly, on Saturday night. If you believe in Mike Norvell, then maybe you just say, you know what, we're taking our lumps here. We're going to take our lumps this year. We might even have to take some lumps in 2022. But I believe in this guy, and I think this guy is going to turn around, and I'm going to give him real time. I'm not going to keep extending his contract, but I'm going to give him real time to see if he can turn this thing around because we almost don't have another choice. We can't keep throwing money at coaches we fired. We can't keep throwing money at coaches we don't know can do the job. If you believe in him and everything he's about, you might have to bite the bullet even if the results are ugly and say, you know what, I'm sticking with him. It's a completely different situation. But they did that in basketball. I know it's a completely different situation, but they did it in basketball. So many people wanted Leonard gone before his first tournament run with Tony Douglas and then before this last tournament run with Jonathan Isaac. They all wanted him. So many people wanted him gone. Where would the program be if they had done that?
Yeah. No, I'm guilty. I wanted
so
to change.
The difference is Leonard Hamilton had proven a lot more in his career than Mike Norvell had, in my opinion. What he did at Miami, what he did at Oklahoma State, he'd gone to the NBA.
Yeah, come on.
Yes. So, but at Florida State, not at Florida State, he hadn't. Yeah. He went his first 6 years without being in the tournament. Some of it was bad luck, some of it was bad coaching, recruiting misses, but they didn't get to the tournament. there's a real reason to say this isn't working out. He's not the right guy, but they stuck with him and believed in him. And look where the program is now. So Norvell could be that guy, but you didn't exercise patience with the last guy. If you keep not exercising patience, it just number one, it breeds impatience, but it also breeds a conveyor belt of coaches that never really seems to work out at these schools.
Or you're Florida, and you got rid of 2 bad coaches, and then you hit on the third one. And you go to 2 consecutive New Year's Six bowls, and, you're on a pretty good trajectory. Or that could happen. That's a possibility.
Again, that happens too. And if after next year you go 5-7 and you hear from, just name someone, Lincoln Riley, I know he wouldn't come, but you know what I mean. A proven Power 5 coach. Hey, yeah, I want to come to Florida State. Yeah, you got a decision to make. But to fire Mike Norvell without having anybody in the hopper, again, I just think that probably sets your program back even more. And again, if Travis Hunter's dad wants to coach on the staff, he's allowed. He can call plays. He can dress up in full uniform. You can hire Travis Hunter's high school coach. Any family member that he wants to have a job in Tallahassee needs to be set up. You have to get that guy in Tallahassee.
I do want to kind of just real quick, and then we'll move on, and you can talk to us about what you found out about Best of Times, the film from 1986.
No, Kurt Russell's baseball career.
Okay, yeah. Maybe we just don't have the players yet to get consistent results. I mean, can't every coach who's not doing well pretty much say that? And at what point? That was sort of what I was buoyed by. Was because the way they played against North Carolina was they're going to scheme guys open. They're going to find ways to figure out to get their guys open. Maybe not the most fast guy, maybe not the most large wingspan catch radius, but they're going to get guys open. They're going to be able to communicate to the quarterback how to look and go through the progression to find that guy open. They were able to establish a running game. These sort of things, you're allowed to enhance the quality of the people that you're surrounded by, man. You're paid $4 million to coach these guys up. You had a free agent transfer portal that you hit on that everybody was gushing over about how well you did. And listen, Jermaine Johnson looks really good. Kier Thomas looks pretty solid. Jamie Robinson, mainly good. That final play is a bit of a bummer right now. We'll see if this quarterback works out for you. You've doubled down on it, because if he works out, then you're like, okay, you can almost forgive Notre Dame to a certain degree, and then you keep moving forward. But if it doesn't, then you're like, oh boy. But man, I get it. He doesn't have an 11-win roster, but man, you lost to Jacksonville State. There's more talent on here than what they're working with in Jacksonville, Alabama. So
that's the deal, right? And then they beat North Carolina last year, and they almost beat Notre Dame this year. It's not a great roster, but it can rise up and play pretty well at times. And when they play poorly, it's still into the spiral stage, and hopefully they can break that. But yeah, when you're not a good team, this is what happens. We thought 6-6, right?
Yeah.
And yeah. We'd both take 6-6 in a heartbeat now.
Absolutely, yeah.
But this was one of the dubs that just got ripped away. But 6-6 implies a lot of ups and downs. And I know they lost both games, but I feel like that was an up and a down. So it shouldn't be stunning. The loss is stunning, but it shouldn't be stunning that they fluctuate so much. It would be nice if that stopped, or at least slowed down a little bit, because the fluctuation is a little bit out of control.
Let's take they're not, listen, you can be negative, I get it. I'm not upset about it. I'm just trying to find a way to balance out the show for, you're listening to now and then what you're going to have remaining for Friday, everybody. But I guess let's just go in chronological order just to keep me kind of not that tied up. We'll take 2 more. So my guy Abdel Nole, 93, 99, 13. Good years.
Oh, hold on. So Kurt Russell,
go ahead.
I think he must have suffered an injury. So he was drafted by the Angels. He played 1971. I didn't know he was that old. He played 1971 and 72 in rookie ball and hit 285 the first year and 325 the second year. For his career, which was only 356 minor league at-bats, all short season, One year in Double A. Wow, he hit .562 in Double A. He was 9 for 16 with 3 doubles and a home run in 1973, and then never played again. That's odd. But anyway, he hit 290. He was a 292 career hitter.
There you go.
In 356. That's real. Like that's pretty impressive. I mean, he wasn't close to the major leagues, but still, it's cool when guys like that are like real athletes. Like Costner seemed like a real athlete.
Absolutely. Del Knoll 93, like Wesley Snipes. You know?
No, I don't think Wesley Snipes was. Like I think in that.
Or was it Woody Harrelson?
Woody Harrelson was a legitimate basketball player. Wesley Snipes, they had to do a lot of movie magic to make him look good.
Okay. Sorry, Wes.
Is
he in prison or did he get out? Did he pay his tax? He get everything settled with Uncle Sam?
I think he's good. I think he's set now. He's set.
Always bet on black. Wake up, longtime listener, subscriber, first-time Renegade Express participant, Abdel from YouTube. Oh, all right. Abdel's the one that would always come drop a basketball question on us. And I'm like,
nice.
Knock it off, Abdel. But no,
does he have one this week?
No. I'm from Boynton Beach, Florida, hometown of Trey Turner, Vince Wilfork, and Vincent Mason, who's 1/3 of De La Soul.
Oh, all right.
Boynton Beach,
that's Trey Mason's dad.
Okay. Really?
The Auburn running back, yeah.
No, really?
Yep.
I did not know that.
Yep.
I think isn't Lamar Jackson from Boynton Beach?
I thought he was from Miami, like South Florida.
I don't know. I'll check it out here.
I know Kenny Boynton, the former Florida basketball player, was from Boynton Beach.
Really?
Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. So Abdel asks, just lost the screen. Time heals everything, but wins sure expedite that process too. Going into the season, the consensus around the program seemed to be, let's see a competitive product on the field, salvage and improve upon the 22 class. After face planting out of the gate, what do you guys deem a result that shows movement in the right direction? A string of a few wins in a row? Some games that show a high-powered offense? I know we all want instant gratification of flipping a switch, but for whatever reason, whether that's personnel, scheme, or a combination, we'll still be climbing into year 3 and beyond under this staff. Thanks for all the hard work and coverage, Abdel. Okay. Win 3 in a row right here. Win 3 in a row. Beat Wake. We got Wake, Syracuse, Louisville. Wake,
Louisville, Syracuse, I think.
Win 3 in a row.
That would be an impressive bounce back from that debacle Saturday night. Truly. I mean, I know this isn't murderer's row coming up, but you just lost to Jacksonville State, so you worry about the psyche of the team and how they handle something like that. Again, in 2009, not that that's a year you want to bring up and celebrate as look what we can do type season, but they won in the last 30 seconds against Jacksonville State, and then the next week went out and beat the bejesus out of like top 10 BYU. So just because you struggle with an FCS team on short rest doesn't mean the season's over. It's just golly, you just could have built on it. So to answer that question, I want to see an offense, man. Yeah. I'm tired of turning on my TV every Saturday and watching colleges all over the country put up points and yards by the bushel. And then I watch this thing, and other than a fourth quarter with 2 different quarterbacks, this doesn't look any better. Fourth quarter against Notre Dame, it doesn't look any better than what we saw last year. And I'm tired of watching offenses just limp. They're impotent. I was going to say limp down the field, and then I said impotent. I don't want y'all to think that the limp and the impotent were the synonyms there. I changed the direction of thought, so get your minds out of the gutter. But this offense is impotent, or it was on Saturday. I want to see the guy. You hired the guy that, Mike Norvell's, he staked his whole career to what were they, like a top 5 scoring offense? 4 years in a row, or 3 out of 4 years at Memphis.
Memphis currently has the number 1 total offense in the country.
Great. So those are his players. Just give him time, guys. So the point, but maybe that's the culture at Memphis. Maybe you go to Memphis, you're going to put up 48 on the board. You go to Florida State these days, hopefully you get into the 20s. Like that, I'm ready for the offense to take off. I know they have some issues at offensive line, big ones, but you've known what this offensive line was for a year now. Figure out a way to move the ball. Like, scheme it open, man. Figure out something to do where this offense starts putting points on the board. That's what I want to see really for the rest of the season. Like, if they go 4-8, But the last half of the season, maybe the offensive line gets healthier. In the last half of the season, even if they're losing some games 41-33, you feel good about the direction of the offense because of what, and you're like, okay, now I see what he's doing. Now I see what this offense can be. And next year it might have a chance, a real chance to be something. That's what I want to see, man. The defense is what it is. I don't know how long Adam Fuller is for this world, but Mike Norvell is not getting fired, and he is an offensive guy, and I want to start seeing some proof in the pudding when it comes to that thing. That was a debacle. The offense was the reason they lost that game Saturday night.
Yes.
Jarvis Brownlee didn't tackle. That's fine. You should already had 35 points on the board, and that should not have mattered. They might have just been taking a knee in that moment if the offense had done anything. So that's what I'm really going to be looking for these next 2.5 months. It's just some real consistency in a plan and improvement in the offense.
Florida State currently 82nd in scoring offense at 27.5 points per game. Passing offense, 113th in the nation, 155.5 yards.
What about rushing offense?
24th.
So let's go back to that real quick, and we can wrap. I guess we got one more question. We can wrap it up. But that's kind of the point I wanted to make, because, again, I don't want people to think that I don't think McKenzie can play. They're not good at throwing the ball. For whatever reason, they just struggle passing the ball. So wouldn't you just say, you know what, you're going to be like a poor man's Georgia Tech, in that you're running the ball. 80% of the time you're running the ball. And who do you think, if you have in the backfield, gives you the better chance of running the ball at quarterback? And just embrace it. I know it's not what they want to do. I get it. They scored all those points at Memphis with that kid that barely ran at all. That's not who they are. That's not what they want to be. But, man, if you can't block it up, or if your receivers can't get open, you can't make plays in the passing game, why not embrace that you can run the ball? You can run the ball. You run for over 200 yards each of the last 2 games. Jashaun Corbin might be leading the ACC in rushing, or close to it. He could have a 1,000-yard season. Like, you got some guys in the backfield. My man Toa Feely is just waiting to bust loose. You know what I mean? He's on the verge. So I'm if they struggle again throwing the ball this week, if they, assuming they start McKenzie, which, he's listed first string, there's no war anymore. If he starts and you struggle again trying to throw the ball and being that kind of team, just scrap it and embrace the fact that, okay, we're going to throw the ball 13 times a game, and we're going to run the bejesus out of the ball. And that's all we're going to do. And we're going to try to get Treshaun Ward and Jashaun Corbin to 1,000 yards this year. That's our goal.
Random_John. We're not going out on a high note, everybody. So
Sorry, guys.
If you made it this long.
Oh, does he have a bad one? Does he have a negative one?
I mean, he lives in reality.
Yeah, I got you. I didn't mean bad one. I just meant a little bit not Pollyanna. Well, nobody's really been Pollyanna.
Wednesday will be great. Tonight's live show is going to be great, everybody. I hope.
I'm going to be in a better mood. It'll be 4 days removed. The sun still keeps coming up. I got a healthy 13-year-old boy. I got a lot of good things. We got a lot of good things going on in our lives.
What's going on with your skin thing?
Monday. I have I go back in. I go under the knife again, and they dig until they can't find any more cancer.
Okay. So already went. Well, there's already one time this happened, or is this?
Yeah, I told you that. Yeah, they told me. Yeah, they dug in and they sent it off to the lab and told me that it was a carcinoma, a basal cell. So it's not. It's very, very common, but they want to dig in there and make sure it's not too deep and make sure that it's good to go. So that happens Monday morning.
Okay. All right.
So.
Oh no, what have we done? As that's a line in this thread that we're going to. Good morning, Aslan and Corey. It's Random_John. I hope you are feeling marvelous and able to call a prevent defense when necessary.
Yeah.
Now that we have proven we are incapable of beating even the worst of competition, what would have to happen now for FSU administration to say, oh no, what have we done? Realizing they made a horrible mistake. We have heard time and time again that it cannot get worse, but let's kick a dead horse. How much lower can we actually get, and what do you feel that looks like? And then there's a second part. Okay, so literally 1-11.
Yeah.
1-11. That would be.
Yeah.
mean, 0-12. I mean, literally 0-12 would be but 1-11.
Yeah, that would mean a loss to Walt Bell. Yeah. So right, Jacksonville State's not rock bottom. Them planting a flag in the middle of your field, and then their Twitter account just mocking you for 3 days straight. Their fans doing the mock war chant. All that stuff is not rock bottom. If Walt Bell comes into Doak Campbell Stadium and beats you, that redefines rock bottom. So yes, it could get worse, I guess.
Then, what do you feel Norvell can do at this point to prove to you he actually is the right guy? Anyways, everybody drink DeLuna coffee, eat Zaxby's because they have you covered, unlike our FSU non-existent prevent defense.
Yeah.
Okay, what can he do at this point? Maybe we'll go on a high note. What can he do at this point to prove to you he's actually the right guy?
Well, I didn't quite understand the phrasing of the question. Like I guess we answered the first part is like that
yes.
could be, it could get worse. Okay.
Yes.
What could he do is what I was talking about. Like, look, nobody went into this season expecting Florida State to contend for any type of championships. 6-6 is still doable. 5-7 isn't the end of the world, and neither is 4-8. Honestly, not after what you've just done. So just look, man, show improvement. Show improvement. Like, look, this season's already a wash in the grand scheme of Florida State football. When you go into a season hoping for 7 wins, you know you got a ways to go. That hasn't changed. So if he can stack on some wins, look pretty good doing it, have an offense that resembles anything he had at Memphis as far as explosiveness and points, I think you can build off that. I think you can, and if you keep and that could help you keep the recruiting class. And if you keep the recruiting class, you got to figure out a way to keep the big boys in that recruiting class, and then go from there next year. But there's nothing. The answer to the question, I don't think there's anything that can be done to convince us. Is that how he phrased it?
Well, what do you feel Norvell can do at this point to prove to you he's actually the right guy?
Nothing, because he. I mean, look, short of going 10-0 or 9-1 over the next 10, that would prove it to me. But I'm living in the world of reality. If he goes 4-6 the rest of the way, or 5-5 or whatever it is, that won't prove anything to us. So my thought there is he can't do anything. He can't do anything to prove to us he's the right guy by going 5-7 in a year. So I guess that's. But next year is a prove it or lose. The next year would probably be a prove it or lose it season for him. But I don't foresee any way he could prove it to me this year, unless he beats his rivals. Man, if he did that would go a long way. If he could get to a winning season, especially after this start, that would go. I guess that's my answer. If you can finish with a winning season, that after going 0-2 with one of the losses being a sure win, that would prove to me that you have connected with these players. They are tough-minded. They can bounce back from an all-time devastating loss and turn around and have a nice season. That would be a good start, and that would prove to me that the program is on the right track.
And I guess at this point, to have a winning season, well, I mean, by a winning season, you mean at least like 500, or do you mean 7-5?
Well, or 7-6. Get to 6-6 and win your bowl.
So
get to a bowl. Maybe even just get to a bowl. Get to a bowl would prove to me you've rallied up.
But that, but preseason, that wouldn't have been the bowl mark, though, which is kind of weird. But anyhow, what I was going to say, though, is but at this point, 6 wins means you probably, like Miami is more likely than Florida. Both.
Yes.
I mean, I don't want to say either are likely, but if you win 6 games, you're thinking you're probably going to beat one of them. Because otherwise, you'd beat Wake. If you beat Wake, Louisville, Syracuse, North Carolina, Troy, and Boston College.
UMass,
or
not
NC
Troy.
State. I'm sorry, UMass. And then like North Carolina. I mean, but that's the thing. That'd be 7 wins. Wouldn't if you beat all those guys and then NC State and Boston College, but you don't beat Miami, you don't beat Florida, you don't beat Clemson. I want to get back to what would rock bottom look like.
No, let's not do that. Let's go out on the high note.
Okay.
We already did rock bottom. It's losing to Walt Bell.
We can really go down there, but players transfer out. Like there's other things you can go to that maybe he's like, what would it have to look like? But let's not go there.
But man, that's why again we'll have a lot to talk about on Monday's show. But
Yeah,
it's a big game, man. It is a big game. You're right. Playing well and losing, I don't even know if that's that's an oxymoron anyway when you're talking about Wake Forest. But just not getting blown out isn't enough. That's not a standard. That's not something. Well, they fought, they competed. If they go and win this game, that's a nice bounce back, man. That is a good sign. Not a great sign. It's a good sign. Conversely, if they get boat raced, we got issues. So we already got issues, but we got real issues. That's why it's such an important game, man. He lost everyone on the fan base. Everyone in the fan base, he lost. He just lost. And you have to none of the words matter. You got to build up trust. And by doing that, you got to start stacking some flipping W's together, man. And start it this weekend. And let's just see what happens.
Thank you for starting your day with Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee. Jeff Cameron coming up at 1 p.m. live, and then we'll be live 6 p.m. Wednesday evening. That will be your Thursday podcast. So do tune in for that, either live or, the whole Thursday podcast thing. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Again, thank you so much for listening to Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee. Come explore our world of coffee. DeLuna Coffee features over 24 different blends. DeLuna's unique roasts can be delivered ground finely for drip coffee makers, coarse for the craft crowd, untouched as a whole bean, or even in convenient K-Cups. Founded in 2014 by the Lemmix family, Ed and Brett are FSU alums and boosters who are extending a special offer to all listeners. Use the promo code WARCHANT15 for a 15% discount. Visit DeLunaCoffee.com and check out their Facebook and Instagram.